Okay, first up we have Tommy, and let's take a look. So when I opened the file, I got errors, and it seems to be missing some of the geometry. As an additional test, I went ahead and opened it in Maya 2017, and the missing geometry is showing up, but it's all, scrambled like that. And what I can see is going on is that it still has all the history on it, in addition to the skinning, which is there at the top. And what you need to do is, before you skin it, you should be deleting the history before you skin it. It is possible, but risky, to delete it afterwards. So, you'll notice this one doesn't have that problem, and it also doesn't have that long list of history. This one, did have a fair amount of history, but you seem lucky enough to not have had the problem. And if you want to try to delete history after you skinned it, you can go to Edit, Delete by Type, Non-Deformer History. And what that does is it deletes the history but keeps the skinning. So that head should still work. Yeah, let's just go back to my 2015. And let's take a quick look. So this is not, the rig that was demonstrated in the class videos. I can see that you've built your own skeleton, which is, admirable, except for that it doesn't give you a rig really to be able to control the character well. And the idea of having you guys use the advanced skeleton rig is that we could easily spend the entire term, making a rig and making it work right, and we wouldn't get to anything else. So the idea of the class is to kind of introduce rigging and the concepts of it, but then to use the advanced skeleton script so that you can get a good rig and then focus on the animation moving forward, rather than rigging for an extended period of time. But anyway, so the assignment is to use the advanced skeleton rig, and so this isn't really using the assignment. Besides that, I've mentioned several times that the mouth needs more detail, the eyelids need more detail, that these fingers need additional detail, and I can see that your skeleton doesn't even extend to the hands and fingers, so those wouldn't be able to use. But clearly there's not enough edge loops to be able to bend these fingers. There's only one at the base and then another at the end. So you would need one, that is to say, you need three typically at each point in the fingers that is going to bend. So that's not sufficient what you have there. But I have mentioned that before. I've mentioned the additional detail on the face. I've mentioned giving some thickness to the shirt. And so if you could maybe respond in the comments to let me know that you're actually watching these videos, I'd really appreciate it, because from the work you're turning in, I don't see any progress based on any of the comments I've made, so it's hard to know if you're seeing these or not. So please let me know if you've seen this. Okay, and then again, please use the advanced skeleton rig. Next up is Sungjong, and I noticed there's no rig for the ears. I've posted a video for you on how to build an ear rig for a rabbit type ears. This same tutorial could be used for things like tails and that kind of thing as well. But since it applies so well, I've posted this here, and I recommend you watch that so you can add a rig for your character's ears. But let's take a look at your rig. So I'm just going to turn off X-ray joints so I can see this better. And the first thing I'm noticing is that some of the controls are hard to see. So I'm going to go into wireframe here, and I've noticed you got your character surfaces on reference, which is great. So take, for example, this head control, which is working well. It's just hard to see. So to adjust it, go into component mode, select the control vertex, pick the vertices of that. Oops, I missed. Let's try that again. It might help if I'm component mode here as well, and then scale that up maybe to something like that. You can move it and put it wherever you want. The point is just to make it easy to select. So now it's very easy to select that head control to move the head around, and you'll want to repeat that process for the other controls that are kind of hidden here. So for example, this one, oh yeah, again, make sure I can just hit F8 and that will put me into component mode. And I can grab this one, scale that up, maybe even move it over a bit, right? And the whole point is they don't have to be in any very specific place. You just want them to be somewhere that is convenient for you to control. So a lot of these need to be scaled up. Okay. Good. So I'm not going to do all of them, but there's a lot to do. So for example, all of these finger controls, those circles as well, all need to be done. So go through the character and adjust them to make them easier to select all the controls. And I'm just going to go around and just see how things are working. I don't know why these green squares are still here. I don't think they should still be there. Middle profile, huh? Does that do anything if I delete it? Yes, it does. I don't remember. I don't really think. Hopefully, it won't affect your character, but I don't think those are supposed to be there. Let's. Was that from what I just did? What is this surface here? What's that? I don't know what we're seeing. That this kind of dark thing there. It looks like it's interesting because when I go into wireframe, oh, I do kind of see it in here. Oh, the character's on reference, so. Let me just reopen the file and see if those are there or that's something I did. Got some errors on opening, so maybe that's something on my end. Yeah, those are there. So take a look in your file and see if these are here, and then let me know. We can try and figure it out, or if that has something to do with those errors. It looks like there's a whole surface there, actually. Whoa, what is that? It's like a whole yeah, surface underneath the real surface. Was that part of the rigging process? It kind of looks like, it sort of looks like you've got all of the fit skeleton stuff still in there, which is really strange. Skin cage. Yeah, let me see what happens if I delete that. Does everything still work? Yeah, you've got, that stuff should have disappeared. I don't know, it's kind of, everything seems to still be working, so if it's doing something weird when you mesh curves, what happens if I delete that? Oh, that seems alright. Oh, it looks like you can just delete that out. Okay, so yeah, so just delete those. I don't know why those remain. Usually those disappear when you build a skeleton. Alright, yeah, just kind of checking out to see how things are working. Yeah, I think that came out nicely. Wonder if your roll works. Oh yeah, really good. Wow, nice. Only thing about this roll is it's working this way, but just because of the nature of your foot, because it's that kind of rabbit leg, is, in an ideal world you'd want the back kind of pivot point of the roll, instead of being up here where it is at that heel, you'd want it to be down there. But I think you don't really need the roll to animate. It's just a sort of a convenience, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And again, yeah, you've got a lot of controls here, like these guys that need to be scaled up to make the character easy to use. Make sure I'm in component mode, F8. just scale those all up. Oh, I do have to scale them one at a time, unfortunately. Oh, getting some of these in my selection, am I? Don't know why I keep getting some of that one. Can't see where I'm doing that. Just try to select a little more carefully. I'm just gonna, oh, we can't grow selection. Well, okay, so I've got to select this really carefully. Yeah, every time oh, I see, it's that one that I keep getting. All right. So, yeah, and you can even, I might, for something like this, rotate it, just, again, to make this easier to pick. So all the skinning is looking really good from everything I can see. Let's switch the arms into FK mode just to see how they're working. Yeah, looking great. And it looks like you've even built a jaw in here. Is that working? No. Okay, you could skin that if you wanted to be able to open and close the jaw. Oops. Oh, that's the skin cage, I see. That's the thing we just deleted. So does this have any influence over the character at all? It appears not to. So you'd have to add that influence and then skin it to the jaw. So I guess I could show that. Let's reveal selected, and this is under the, again, you need to pick the one under the deformation system, because there's two skeletons on top of each other. One's the deformation one that actually bends a character, and then there's another skeleton right on top of that that actually controls that deformation skeleton. So the first thing to do would be to select that on the surface and go to Skin, Add Influence, and I like to just say Lock Weights, and so it will add it, but it won't mess up any of your existing weights. So now what should happen is, yeah, see how that's purple now? That means that joint can affect that. Then, this is the hard part, would be to select some of these verts, like there to there, and I'm going to use Shift period, which is the greater than symbol, to grow my selection. Probably going to have to then deselect some. Trying to think of a better way to do this. Let's try to do a little bit of a smaller selection to start with, and then grow it and see how. It's actually pretty good so far. What happens if we isolate selection now? Well, yeah, it's only going to show those. Yeah, you're going to want the inside of that. That's okay, we'll do this. So we'll go to object mode and we'll isolate this button here. Whoops, wrong one. Sorry, here. And then go back to vert selection, and oh, I thought it would give me that selection back. Okay. Let's try it again. Shift double click here. And grow, 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 grow. And now, probably going to have to manually do the rest of these. Oh wow, it's not picking that loop for some reason, which is making our job much harder here. See if it'll pick the row here. Oh, good. Yeah, I did shift double click. That one's working. Okay, yeah, shift double clicked and got that row. Really having to get in there. Okay, that looks pretty promising. I think I got all the jaw ones. Oh, we've got some on the top here that we don't want. So let's deselect these and those. Oh, yeah, looks like there's... Boy, it's hard to tell which row those are. So let's just leave it. We can fix that on the weighting afterwards if it gets any that we didn't want. So hopefully that's all the stuff we'd want for the jaw. Maybe I'll get a little bit more here. Probably could have turned symmetry on. It might have made this selection a little easier. Yeah, and you might want to keep going here with a little bit more. Alright, well, let's call that pretty good. So, might be a good idea to create a quick selection set, which I can do by create sets, quick select set, and just call this jaw verts, so I don't have to try to select that again. If in case I need to, or if I want to add to it, I can do that. So now the thing to do is to let's turn off isolate select, and let's go select this object and right mouse click, go down to paint, skin cluster weights, and won't let us select that influence. It's being funny about it. Let's double click on this and find, we can just type in jaw, or you can do star jaw star. Hey. Oh. I don't know why that's not. Head, jaw, oh, it's locked right now, so I need to unlock that. Oh, it's a capital J, that's why I didn't get it, that's silly. Okay, so now that we have that in there, I'm going to do edit quick select sets, jaw verts, and here we've got here, and then we'll just paint, replace, opacity and value should be 1, flood, and so now those will move 100% with the jaw bone, which we can see from here. Maybe we got some points. Remember I said maybe we'll clean it up once we skin it, so we can go ahead and do that now. It's a little tricky because those were right on top of each other. I might take these faces and then convert the selection to vertices, control 2 vertices, and I can see those vertices there. They were exactly on top of the other ones, so almost impossible to select separately. And then again with the paint tool, make sure we have jaw selected, and we'll set the value to 0 and flood those, and that'll fix that up. And now we've got one that we have to add back in. Once again, I'll do that thing I did with the faces. So face, grab those, control right mouse click, 2 vertices, and that gets that little one up there. And then we'll flood that again back to 1. Wait a minute. Oh, seems like it's the same. Is that the same one? I think it's connected on both ends. Kind of seems that way. That's a problem with the model then, ever opening the mouth. Let me see how many... Okay, so let's deselect these here. and it says there's just one vertice selected. God. So I think that you've merged a vertex that's on both the top and bottom of the mouth, really. See, when I move that, it moves these guys and those guys. So, kind of don't want to be changing the model at this point in the game if we can avoid it. Go back to object mode. So I'm just trying to, let's see what happens if we just delete these faces. It's going to screw something else up. Oops. Seems like we're getting away with it, so I just try to do that. Hopefully that won't somehow pay for that later. Okay. I mean, the real thing to do would be to separate that vertex, but I'm concerned that it would mess something else up too. And so now, again, with the paint, and on the, again, having the jaw selected, you can just put on smooth and then flood, 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 flood. And then let's pick that joint again. Whoops. Why does it keep? There we go. And then you've got reasonably good. I mean, the only issue now is maybe this joint placement isn't ideal, but again, you have to go back. Maybe you want to tilt the teeth forward a little bit so they don't intersect the mouth if you want to be able to open it like that. The other thing is you can just do those with blend shapes anyway, so you might not even use that jaw joint, but I thought it'd be worthwhile demonstrating it. I know this was long overall, very good, really good rig. You could use it right now if you needed to. Great work. Okay, next up is Brittany, and it looks like she had some issues with the hair, so we'll take a look at that. Am I seeing the same thing? I'm actually not sure I'm seeing it. These joints are very large, and one thing you can do is to, and maybe they're not on yours, but display animation joint size and to decrease that. Let's try like 0.1. Yeah. To get it more to the scale of this character. Alright, and I might turn off the X-ray joints just to get them out of my way. And do we have the texture hooked up? Let's take a look at that, because I think you included the textures. Got most of those in. Oh, it's acting weird. Why does that look transparent? Just take another look at the hypershade. Those materials. And yeah, for some reason there's no transparency on there. Do we have X-ray on? We do. There we go. Sorry. Okay, let's turn off X-ray joints too. Alright, so we can see the texture on there and that. Oh, okay, I am seeing the hair thing now. Good. Alright, so, I mean, sometimes you can just get away with like unlocking this and then just plain old moving it back. I'm going to hold down W, choose world, and then let's just see if this still works okay. Yeah, not so much. You know what I think it is, actually, let me, so now that I've moved it back, let's check the, I can go to paint, skin cluster weights, and go to the head. And that is 100% with the head, which means then that, let's check this one. Might hide this for the moment, Control H. Let's check this, because maybe this isn't painted 100% to the head. It sure looks like it is. Usually when we would see that intersecting like that, it would mean that one or the other is not painted 100% to the head. So, oh yeah, it is. Okay, it's doing it there a little bit. Let's just try to, you know what, I'm going to scale this up a little bit. I'm cheating a little bit. Okay. And, let's see. Yeah, that did it. So, you know, call it cheating if you want. I'll lock it all the way up now. Lock selected is where? Here. Okay. Why does my X-ray joints keep turning back on? Okay. So that should be fine for the head. We can just make sure it's not doing anything weird when we sort of move the whole thing around, and it is. Oh no. Why? Look at that. Okay. Let's try. You know, the big question becomes, is it the hair or is it the head? And it's a little hard to tell. But some things, you know how we can tell. Let's move it really far. Yeah, see how the hair is moving off? So something's gone a little bit berserk with the weights on the hair. One thing that can be interesting to do is the component editor. I'm going to select the vertices of this and go Window, General Editor, Component Editor, and we're under Smooth Skins, and I thought I might see something weird here, like skin weight that was greater than 1, but I'm not, so don't really know what's going on, but a way to fix it is, let's I'll just leave that like that, and then if you want to make any adjustments to this, you would do it now. Let's delete the history off of this, and then let's select just the head joint. Might be easier to do that in the outliner. Just going to do star, head, star, and right mouse click, reveal selected. Hey. Oh, it wouldn't be selected actually, so why is it showing all of that? Okay, it must be this joint here. Are we under the, oh, that's under the motion system. We want it to be under the, oh no, sorry, that's under the deformation system, we can see. So that's the joint we want to skin this to. So we'll select just that one joint. This, by the way, this is just a filter to filter out other stuff to make it easier to find. Let's just select that. Make sure I'm under animations, skin, smooth bind options. I'll just reset this and bind to selected joints, just that one joint, and that way should just be 100% bound to that joint. Okay, now let's see if we're having the same problem. I'll move this forward. And that seems to be okay now. Okay. We'll just check rotating it around a little bit, see if we're seeing anything weird. Alright, that seems to fix that. Let's do another quick check around the character. Check these fingers. Oops, missed this one. Okay, that looks really good. Shoulder, yeah. Might put the foot into IK mode. Okay, just checking this out. The knee. Okay, so yeah, I've seen this before. Jeez. Okay, I think sometimes when you do the fit skeleton, and like sometimes these leg ones get twisted and it points the knee out to the side, and so what you get is, you know, that knee points way out to the side like that, and this is the way you point the knee with this thing, and then if I do that, it's like the knee goes in too far. So what we're gonna do is bind it again, and okay, so first I'll switch this to IK, and we want to get these knees straightened out, and so I don't have to go back into fit skeleton, I'll just fix it with these. But so you don't have to do any weighting again, I'm going to export the skin weights. So I'm going to go skin, export skin weight maps options, and I'll just use the default settings and export, and I'll put it in normally you'd put it in your data folder of your project, so I could do that. I could just make a data and why did I go there? Hold on, sorry. Data open. Oh, I've got this thing here. Okay, and we'll just call this the file name you know, weights. Okay, and this will take a minute because it's what it's doing is it's, you know how you have those black and white images when you're painting weights, it's creating a black and white image for each of the individual joints, and then it can map that back on there after we skin it again. So I'm going to do skin, detach skin, make sure it doesn't move, all your joints should be in the original spots. We'll look at this from the top view and straighten these legs out like so and like so, and then we'll just it might give us a problem with a bind pose now, because even though we've deleted it, do we still see a bind pose on the joints? If I kind of go through here, let's see if there's a bind pose one. Select bind capital P pose 1. Yeah, I can see that there's a bind pose 1, and we need to delete that and have it create a new one. So I'm just going to down here, I'm going to type delete lowercase b capital P pose 1, enter. So that's gone now. So it can, otherwise that would interfere with it. Then we can just use the AS4 thing and select the deform joints, shift select the surface, set smooth bind options. It doesn't really matter what we put in here because, whoa, hip was bound at a different pose. Thought we deleted the bind pose. So let me just see, select bind pose star, enter. If you want to use a wildcard, that star is like a wildcard, meaning it'll select anything with the name bind pose, like bind pose ending with anything, but you have to put quotes around it, which I didn't do last time. So now we can see there's a bind pose 2, and I'll select that, or I can just type delete bind pose 2, enter. Okay, so we've gotten rid of those. So let's try this again. Select the form joints, shift select the body, set smooth bind options. Like I said, it doesn't really matter because we're going to import the weights anyways. Bind skin, select the surface, skin, import skin weight maps, go back to your directory here, data, weight map, open, and you should see it like one joint at a time, sort of rebuild the character with the weights you had before. Hopefully that'll work right. Looking promising. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay. So now let's see if that fixed the knees. So now they're bending more forwards. I'm not loving the joint placement on here, but I think it's okay. Yeah, how's everything else? Good. Let's see. That looks good. Yeah, maybe just check the IK hands real quick. Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, really good. I think we saw that. I'll go ahead and save this, and I can post this for you. Because that was some, I know, sort of complex fixes. But yeah, really good work. Okay, next up is Cindy, who's having a number of issues here. I can see that you've got some texture going on there, which is good, although I would say, oh, I guess it's in this area, but it's very subtle. What might be good is for this edge looks sort of aliased, and you might want to go into your texture and just go and paint on that edge to kind of blend those two together a little bit, so it's not, you know, such a sort of chunky line. And kind of as far as the rig, it's not really at a point. I don't know what's really happened here, because yeah, I don't see any of the it just, yeah, you're just missing so much. Honestly, I think you need to step back and this is still here, huh? Or is it? Let's unlock this. Oh, it looks like you're using AS5 from what I can tell. Is that right? I'm not sure. But honestly, I think you need to go back and is that Advanced Skeleton 5? I don't know. I wonder. Yeah, so I have AS4, which is what I recommended using. I think what I would say is somehow the rig is just almost entirely missing here, so I don't know where things went wrong, if stuff got deleted or didn't work in the first place. But one thing is I mentioned in the announcements is that you should be using Advanced Skeleton 4.160 with Maya 2015, and I've put the direct link in here. So I'm guessing you used the Advanced Skeleton 5, it's looking like, which is very different from the one I teach and may or may not work well with Maya 2015. So I would say take a step back and just use that recommended version of Advanced Skeleton, and if you could save it a version out at each step. So when you bring in the fit skeleton, save a version. When you adjust the position of the fit skeleton, save a version. And then when you build the build the rig, save a version. So you have those different versions. So that way, if there's a problem at any point, we can go back to those different stages and try and figure it out. But right now, unfortunately, where you're at right now, I think you just have to start over, because it just didn't build a rig. So that's what I would recommend. Okay. Okay, next up is Alberto, and yeah, right now, well, it's not bound at all, and the hands are a bit of a mess. Let's see if it'll let me go back to the fit mode. This very often does not work. Yeah, it doesn't want to do that for me. I don't know why this other one is in here. You should probably delete that out. You said you brought in the previous step, but this one is, oh, okay. Again, I don't know why this whole thing is in there. Will this one let me go to fit mode? No, it will not. So that's not really the previous step. The previous step would be before the rig has been built while you're still in fit mode. So if you don't have that file, probably need to start over because the hand is just a real mess here. And you really need to have proper placement of those finger joints. Let's put on x-ray joints on here, and yeah, it just looks like a real garbled mess in here, and that needs to be redone. Actually, I mean, yeah, because this should be here, this one should be there. Actually, no, this one should be there, this one should be there, this one should be there. All of these are real messed up, so you need to go in and get that hand done right. You know, make sure you save it out at the different stages, so you still have the fit mode, objects in there. Make sure you're saving that as a separate file, and then we can go back to that and fix things before we build the skeleton. As for, I'm not loving the joints on the spine there either. And then as far as binding it, it looks like you haven't done that step at all. We can see there's no skin here. Again, those steps are demonstrated in the video, but real quick, once you get, take a step back, do the fit skeleton correctly, then what you'll do is select the form joints, shift select the surface, smooth bind options. Let's just try geodesic voxel. It usually works pretty good. And bind skin. It can take a little while, but not too bad. Usually it does a pretty good job. And then now we can see that he is indeed bound. But yeah, the joint placement's way off. So you'll need to go back in to that fit skeleton mode and fix that up. And like many of these other ones, you'll need to adjust the size of these controllers too. So let me just put on X-ray. Like this one right here, I might add a layer here and put it in reference mode. That way I can pick that and go into component mode. Oops. Go back to object mode. Sorry, just want this one. Why is that selecting all those other ones? It doesn't seem right to me. So yeah, you'd go through and select these points, scale them up. Did I get all of them? Yeah, it looks like I did. So you'd want to scale that up so it's bigger than the head, so that then you can control that. So yeah, unfortunately you're going to have to start over and do the fit mode again, but please do save out versions so we can take a look and really get those fingers placed correctly. And just, all of it's demonstrated in the video, so you might want to watch the video again in the module. Okay, next up is Vincent. And yeah, he had before had these same problems with the knees, but that was what I demonstrated on that previous character. I believe it was Brittany's, where I demonstrated how to get export the skin weights, delete the bind poses, delete the history, and then reattach it, and then bring straighten out the knees, and then reattach it, and then so you would just do that same process, but this is a working file. So let's just see. So I guess, yeah, the big thing here is, as with many, you'll need to scale up these controls because right now they're not easy to select. So get them big enough to pick easily. So you'll want to go through and make sure they're all external to him. So even little guys like this one, you'll want to move that out of the body, and something like that. Oops. F8 will scale this up. So you'll need to go through all the controls and scale them or move them to make them easy to select, to make sure they're outside the body. Let's see how everything else is working. Oops. That's funny. How odd. It's turning that way. but it's not going up and down. It doesn't really matter. You can use this one. I don't know why that one was not working. I think it should. Okay, it doesn't matter. This works. It's fine. Yeah, make sure you get like these yellow ones. Oh, okay, those actually are outside the body right now. You can use that to like shrug the shoulders and stuff. It can be kind of a nice control. Yeah, it looks like your weight painting is good from everything I'm seeing. Just put on the IK arm. Check. Oh, I would. Aha. Yes. So let me just look at your wireframe here. I mean, that might work by moving that back, but I would expect the elbow to bend that way. But now it's kind of twisting the arm to have done that. So we might want to go through what I was describing for the knees again anyways to fix the arms. So I'll do it again. So first of all, select the body, skin. So this is the same thing I did for your knees, you know, a day or so ago. Export skin weight maps. We'll just use the default. Export, and let's just go into this and just call this Vincent weights, and just call it, I don't know, Vincent weights. Yes. So it's writing a black and white image that represents the weighting for each one of the joints. And so that's what you see it doing down here, is writing out all those images. So now we can detach skin, detach skin. Okay, shouldn't see anything move, so that is a little bit, I just undid that, and let's just check, because I don't want to mess up the knees. You can actually delete history without detaching the skin, which might be smarter. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's delete the history and not detach skin, which essentially it still gets rid of the skin cluster, so we can still skin it again. And then let's move these up and back. So just kind of move these straight behind the arms. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's look at it from the top and just get that to be real straight. Okay, so those are straight behind the elbows now. Good. And we need to delete the bind pose. I'm just going to type delete bind capital P pose 1, enter, and that seems to have worked. Because otherwise it's going to want to go back to that bind pose. And then I'll use the AS4 thing. Select deform joints, set smooth bind options. And again, it doesn't really matter what we put in here because we're going to import the skin weight maps anyway. So I'll select this, skin, import skin weight maps. Vincent weights, Vincent weight map. Open, and we should see it joint by joint applied those weights. Okay, and now let's test these elbows. Okay, that's what we want them to do. And then this controls the position of the elbow. So I'm just going to save this out as fix file, save as. Fix 2 or something like that. Fix 2. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and so other than that, it's looking really good. Okay, next up is Damien, and let's see how we're doing here. Okay, that's looking good. This one's looking good. Alright, let's see how this arm is doing. Alright, that looks alright. Head, whoops. Good. Okay, so now this arm is a tricky one, right? So, okay, that's bad. Don't know why it's wanting to do that. Let's see how the FK arm is working. That looks alright. Yeah, something's going a little crazy. See that? How this joint kind of comes off there? Okay, I mean, most of these are working. I don't know why the IK broke for this one. It's kind of disappointing. It's like I can see this joint is placed wrong. I wonder if I can move that joint. I might, for star, elbow, star. In the, guess it would be the that one. Oh, that would be left. We'd want right. But we want IK actually. IK. Yeah, it is that one right there. Doesn't really want to let me move that. There's all kinds of crazy scripts and stuff going on here, so I wonder if it'll let me go back to fit skeleton stage. Looks like it's trying to. Oh, aha! Interesting. So that's kind of good news. Oh wow, we've got a lot of history on there. Let's just delete that history. And yeah, maybe we can rebuild this. So maybe make sure I'm in hierarchy mode there, so that all moves with it. And then okay, good. How's that shoulder placement looking? Whoops. Come on, buddy. Looks good to me. Yeah. Okay. Everything else placement-wise okay? I think so. Alright, let's see if it'll let us build a skeleton again now. Rebuild. Not in build pose, just proceed. Oh, I think it looks a little high there. Now, if you do this, you might want to scooch those down a little bit. Yikes! Disaster. Let's try again. Alright, let's see if it'll let us go to, I mean, ideally you would have this saved out as a separate file, and then we could just open that file and we don't have to rely on this thing to try and so once again I'll put on hierarchy to make it easier just to move these. Let's look at my top view. Then right at the elbow, and then at this wrist. Guess right about there. Maybe here. Check that from the front view. Yeah, too high. Whoa. Don't really like what it's doing there. Yeah, why is it wanting to turn that whole thing? I think because we need to move all of these down. Actually, probably move. Yeah, that'll do it. So it's not turning the way it was before. Okay. Alright, and let me just save this out. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Alright, so we can go back to this. Let's go back to fit mode. Oh, interesting. Well, those placements look okay. Let's see if that did anything for this. No, same problem. Let me just reopen. I think I just saved. And let's try to rebuild it. In this case, let's say go to build pose. No. Maybe. Let's see what happens when I go to IK now. Oh! Fixed it. Yay! I can't. Oh no, but this one went berserk. Oh, because they're not the same. That's the problem. They're not the same length, I guess. Yeah. Okay. That still doesn't explain why it was going so, yeah, that's kind of tricky with that left and right thing, huh? Because you're building the right side, and your right side is... I didn't really think about that. Right, so now that's not going to work for the other side. Boy. Yeah, this mechanical arm is killing us. Don't know if there's a way to do the other arm. I don't know. It's just giving us another right arm. Yeah, and that's not going to work. So let's go back into your original one. Sorry, this has been a bit of an exploration. I think that because you've got everything seeming to work on this one. Oof. Oh, you got some real skinning issues there. Is there skinning issues anywhere else? Could be that you just want to maybe do like a just like a custom, you know, handmade IK arm here. Don't know why the skinning on the fingers is so bad. I might just detach and skin it all again. The legs seem fine. Head looks good. Oops. This is where one of the tools I like sometimes works. Wow, that looks really kind of crazy. For stuff like this, we can try is skin hammer skin weights. Oh, that worked pretty well. Let's try that for some of these other problem areas. That might not entirely be. I'm just going to do G for previously done tool. Yeah, that seems like that's working. Let's just test it again to F8 to switch to. Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, just go around, pick these, these problem areas. I'm just going to shift greater than symbol, grow those some, and then skin hammer those into place. And might take a few tries here. Grow, grow, grow. And then G for previous function. And then let's test it. Yeah, getting better. So just go, I'm not going to do them all. Go through and hammer those all into place. That should work. To fix those. Alright, back to the arm. So what I'm gonna say is that we should do a little kind of surgical thing here where we get rid of the geometry. Okay. Motion system, yeah. So on his right arm, let's get rid of this entire branch here of this control system for his arm. Ugh, it's not working. Okay, but actually what I'll have to do first is break all the connections from the motion system to the deformation system on that arm. So I'm going to minimize that. Look under deformation system. This is all the stuff on the right arm going down here. And you can see that I want to like break any connections there. So I'm going to select all of this and just highlight all of these and do break connection so that none of the motion system arm stuff is controlling any of that. And then we'll just go ahead and get rid of that whole thing. So here's the whole right arm. I can shift click on this and you can see all those things, and we'll just blow that whole thing away, and then kind of make our own. Probably a little easier said than done. So all these extra nodes in here. Anyways, let's kind of minimize that whole motion system and then look back at this deformation system here. So yeah, it's got a lot of extra joints in there which do a lot of the additional functionality for this thing. So, I mean, the other thing is to try to go back to your original fit skeleton and not do this. The thing is we don't need, loads of this stuff. So, yeah, here's all these fingers, which we can delete. We should be able to delete off. I don't know where the rest of these fingers went. Might just do a little search for finger star. Oh, they must be in the motion system, I guess. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, we can get rid of that whole group. Okay. And maybe I'll leave that. I might be able to use that later. Okay. So now you've got all these joints, and we can try to make a FK controller. I think the best thing at this point is just to blow the whole thing away and make our own. So I'm just going to delete everything from the shoulder down and make my own, because it's just too much going on there. So yeah, it doesn't fit into the paradigm of this setup tool. So we'll make a shoulder joint there. Let's look at this from the top view. Elbow joint, let's say here, and wrist, and maybe just like an end joint there. Okay, and I'll parent that to that clavicle, so I'll click on the scapula, they call it. I'll control click on that scapula, hit P for parent. So now that should at least move with this. Okay, good. And then let's select those joints. And select the surface. Let's do skin, add influence, and let's just let's just lock the weights just so they don't screw anything else up. And then we can go right mouse click, paint, skin cluster, paint weights, double click on that, and just want to unlock those new ones. I should have named them, really, just kind of being lazy. And then we'll need to paint for each of those, so might just use the brush for that. So replace the value of 1, start with this joint here. I don't know if it's, I usually like to you just select vertices and then flood it, but I don't know, it seems like it could be just as fast to do it this way. Okay. And then really, yeah, then the next one It's going to be all of that. It's okay, we'll smooth there in a minute. And then this one will be the rest of it. This is one where it's definitely going to be easier just to pick the vertices and then flood it. So I'll select, oops, go into component mode here. Okay, paint, and then what was that? Yeah, that joint 3, and then flood. Okay. Alright, so let's see if this is working so far. These joints. Oh yeah, kind of need to pick them over here. Yeah, that looks okay. I need to smooth that out, but it's working. Okay. And now let's should just be able to smooth on each of these. So, oh, I don't have the surface select. Let's do that again. Go into the paint weights tool. I'm just going to flood with smooth, smooth, flood, 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 flood. Same on this one. A little bit on the end there. Okay, see if that works better now. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Oh, this got messed up. Yeah, I think I messed up when I smoothed it. Oh, jeez. Might be another good example for hammering weights. Let's see if that fixes those. Skin, hammer skin weights. That looks pretty good. Probably same with these guys. I should have locked some of the stuff down when I was doing that smooth thing, but the hammer seems to be fixing those. Okay. Oh, let's get these guys too. Skin, hammer skin weights. Okay, great. Alright, so I know this has been incredibly long. Thank you for your patience, anybody who's watching this whole thing. It's just a kind of a complex situation. So at this point, what I would tend to say is, I don't want to start building a whole IK FK switch thing. So I would say just do IK, because I think that will work well for this arm. Let me, for the moment, unparent this from the scapula, and then build the IK from here to here. Just make sure that works. Okay, good. And what is this used for? Yeah, we'll just create a locator. Create locator. Move it to this. Actually, let me just hide the polygons real quick. Move it straight back, and select the locator. We'll call this right. What is this one called? We'll just try to make it the same. Pole arm L. Okay, we'll call this pole arm R. And select the IK handle. Select this. Constrain. Pole vector. What? handle, pull vector, IK handle, constrain. Oh, okay, it's just the wrong. So I have to go into the attribute editor and change this to a rotate plane solver. Okay, that was my problem there. Alright, and that way we can kind of point the elbow the way we want it, so that when you move this, oh, that, yeah, so when you move that, you can also point the elbow. Okay, let's undo those. Alright, seems to be functioning. Now let's just make some controllers for these. So where is that? Maybe we can copy that. Just do duplicate, and I'm gonna unparent that. We'll call this IKArm R, and that's not hooked up to anything now. I just did that to get the shape, and then we'll just snap it to this position, and then I'll take this and shift select the IK handle and do constrain parent, and then you just pick this to move that around. I think that yeah, and then we can just like hide the IK handle itself. Whoops. Something's gone wrong. Oh, okay, it just was acting a little funny there. Let's hide this IK handle. And that still works. You know, I'm gonna, yeah, it's like sort of wants to move around to catch it up. I think I might go ahead and delete this too, because that's not an actual locator of this thing. This is made out of NURBS curve, so I'm gonna duplicate that one as well and unparent that. Just hit Shift P a bunch of times and call that polearm R, and we'll move that. I'll hold down V and middle mouse drag to point snap it there and move that straight back, and then grab this IK handle which I had. So select this, control select that, and do that pull vector thing again, and that way let's just test that now, just so we have the same kind of controls on both sides. Good. Okay, so I think we've got the controls for this arm, and yeah, I won't have a switch. It's too much. And then we just have to make sure everything's parented into the hierarchy correctly. So first let's get this joint parented into the that clavicle there. So I think that was on the deformation skeleton. So I believe it was that one. Yeah. So let's grab, actually this might be a good time to name these joints. Shoulder, oops. Do you have these as separate objects? I don't, dang it. I think you might want to separate these out. this one too. I'm just doing a grow selection. Let's try mesh separate and see if that messes anything up. Yeah, good. So these are separate. So we can build a control for those as well. Let's do that real quick. I'm gonna let's put on wireframe unshaded. I'm gonna hold down D and V for point snap and just put it right to the center of that. Same thing for here. Hold on D and V and little mouse drag. And what that did was when we rotate these, they pivot in the correct point. Then what I would do is create a new attribute here. We'll call it I don't know, pincer or something like that. What do you want to call it? And then we'll just do from, let's call it -10 to 10. And so that makes this little thing right here. And then we'll do what's called a set driven key to adjust these. So window animation, no, sorry, I haven't done this in a while. So animation set driven key set. So we have a driver and a driven, and the driver is going to be this load driver and the pincer thing, and the driven is going to be both of these, load driven and their, what is it, their rotate Y? Oh, by the way, we should delete history off of these, and we'll have to re-parent them into the hierarchy, but that's okay. So it's the rotate Y. So the driver's value is 0. We'll key that. Sorry, make sure that's selected. Key that, and then adjust the two drivens. So this will be like 10, where it's all the way open. Let's call that -70, I guess. And that'll be 70. And key that, and then let's set this to, that was 10. Oh, I didn't set it to 10. Shoot. Messed that up. Let's start over. Okay, so this is set to, let's get this to 0. Right. Let's get that to 0. And make sure these are all selected and key. Alright, then let's make sure this one is at 10, and we said -70 and 70, and make sure all those are selected and key, and then change this one so we can see that action on that. And then maybe, yeah, we'll just have something to get it closed where it's sort of gripping more. So we'll change this to 10, -10 where it's touching. You can do it differently if you want it. And then this one, let's just look at this from the top. Maybe 9 there, and oh, maybe less. How about 5 and -5? .5. Looks like it's touching. Okay, and then key. Okay, so now we've got this pincer thing where, oops, something went a little wrong there. Don't know why that -10 one didn't work. Let's try that again. This is 5.5, and this one is -5.5. And let's just make sure those are selected and key. I think I didn't have them all selected. Yeah, there we go. So now you have this one control. So you animate that with that thing, and it's right on the same control that you use to move the arm around with. Okay, yeah, it's not hooked up. Let's just get that connected up, and I guess I might just parent constrain these to this joint. We can also skin it. It doesn't really make any difference because they're not going to bend, but so I'll select the joint first and then select these and then constrain parent. Ooh, that acted weird. Maybe let's skin it after all. I want to put that back to 0. Okay. Let's just select these and select this one joint and do skin smooth bind. Just reset the options. Make sure we just have a selected joint. Okay. Oh, because that doesn't rotate that joint. Okay, so we'll have to do one other thing with this controller, which is get it to control this joint. So I'll select this joint, and do orient constraint, constrain orient. Ooh. Let's just set in the options here, maintain offset. Okay. All right. If anything, hopefully this is a lesson of why we didn't want to rig this entire thing from scratch, because it's so much work. But this seems to be working now. Okay, so let's get the joints parented into the hierarchy first. So we have this misspelled shoulder joint, and we said that's going to go into the scapula R, so control click that. P for parent, I can see that connection there. And then let's just look how these are parented in. Reveal selected. Those go up into that. Oh no, that doesn't. Let's just see, I'm just going to hit the up arrow to see what that's parented to. Ultimately, it's parented to that thing. Let's see if that works for us. So I'll select this and that, and control click here, and P for parent. Okay, so far that looks alright. Let's see if we get any odd behaviors from that. Well, that seems to be working okay. Yeah, seems alright. Though I don't know why that. It's done that weird thing with that arrow. It's been acting a little funny, but I don't know why it's done this with that arrow thing, but that's not that important anyways. Is it still working? Yeah, that's still working on that side. So, alright, well, let's just see. There's a couple other little tests. It's just doing a kind of a funny popping thing, but I think once you get your animation on here, you'll be alright. I think once it's keyframed, we'll stick with it. Alright, let's save that. And I'll post that as well. Yeah, for anyone who watched that entire thing, kudos for sitting through the whole thing. Thanks.